Welcome back. Is XRP still a good investment? And why is Ripple continuing to sell XRP on the open market to the tune of $1.8 billion in just the first 3 months of 2025? And by the way, this is not the Cryptoviser saying this. This is directly from Ripple's own Q1 of 2025 XRP report, where they specifically show you towards the bottom of the page how many coins they have in escrow and how many coins they had before the quarter. And so doing a simple math, we can see how much they're selling. Why are they selling? Is this a good investment? Or are they diluting the shares of XRP into oblivion? Let's get into it. Don't forget to give this video a free thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button. That way you never miss a new video. If you like these kind of videos, thumbs up. And also remember, you can watch these videos on faster speed right here on YouTube. Just click the settings and click speed playback. So let's kind of get right into this, because we've been talking about XRP and Ripple for quite a while. And a lot of people in the market are extremely bullish on Ripple and XRP, generally speaking. People are expecting an IPO at some point. People are expecting the stable coin launch and more integrations of business, payment rails from XRP around the world. Well, in this video, we're going to be discussing some of the pros and what is going on and the positive momentum in the XRP ecosystem and with Ripple. But we're also going to talk about the risk and understand, is XRP a good investment? Let's get right into today's topic. So like we were talking about, a lot of people don't fully understand the tokenomics of any of these crypto coins, let alone XRP. One of the reasons that I am skeptical about the price activity and being able to outperform a lot of the other cryptos on the market is due to what's called the XRP escrow. Now, if you're not aware, back in I think it was 16 or 17, basically Ripple owned 50% of the entire supply of XRP on the market. Well, I should say in the maximum supply. And there was only about 50 billion coins in the circulating supply. So they own half of the overall supply that would ever be in existence. And so to create more transparency and also ease the market concerns about Ripple selling all these XRP off, they created what's called an escrow. All those 50 billion coins were put in a locked contract, and every single month, Ripple gets 1 billion coins, correct, with a B, 1 billion coins unlocked since 2016 or 2017. And they can either sell that on the open market to fund their operation or grow or build their business, or they can put it back into the escrow and it will just continue to be in that pool forever, right? And so when I'm recording this video in the middle of 2025, you can see here on XRP Scan that the total amount escrowed when I'm recording this is 36.5 billion coins, which means over the next 36 months, 3 years, Ripple could technically sell 1 billion coins every single month for the next 3 years. On the open market. Now, historically, they have not done this. They've sold small portions every single month when they're doing some big business opportunities. They do sell some off. We also have to remember that the SEC had a multi-year case against Ripple, and this, according to the Brad Garlinghouse, I believe he said it. It cost them upwards of $200 million to pay for the legal fees just on this Ripple case. Now, SEC reached a settlement with Ripple, ending the case with another $50 million deal. So they're probably at 3 to 4, maybe even $500 million in total legal expenses and business impact based on the SEC situation. Where do they get this money from? I mean, they're not making money from doing cross-border payments in the Philippines. Like, they're not making that much money doing that. They're making money and utilizing their XRP escrow to grow their business, fund the operations, and I would imagine pay some of their legal fees. That would just make sense. Otherwise, where are they getting all that money from? Now, maybe there are other reasons, but anyway, it doesn't matter. We're talking about the escrow, and the escrow is important to understand. Most holders have no idea, or they say, no, Cryptoviser, it's not a big deal. Don't even worry about the escrow. They're not selling that much. It's not that big of a deal. And I'm like, wait, what? If the company behind the project that doesn't even need to use the coin for their project because Ripple doesn't need XRP to run their operations. They can use it and they allow the use of it and they encourage the use of it. But RippleNet does not need XRP. That's a big issue combined with the fact that they are now getting access to these coins to sell in the open market. Now, by the way, it's not just Ripple. Ripple is just being transparent about this. All of the ecosystems insiders sell their coins on the market. Hopefully, they're not selling immediately after the coin launches, but we know Vitalik has sold Ethereum. The Ethereum Foundation has sold Ethereum. Um, I don't know that we know of Solana, but Cardano, we know that Charles Hoskinson sold some or all, I would imagine it's probably some of his ADA, and probably the foundation probably sold some ADA too throughout the course of time. We know the Litecoin founder sold his Litecoin back in 2017. The Stellar Foundation burned 50% of their. So, like, it's not like no other ecosystem does this. But the fact that XRP is so open about it and the community just doesn't seem to care or think that it's going to have any impact on the price, to me, is a worry. It doesn't mean that it's not investable. It just means it's a worry. So let's get into the numbers. So if you look at their Q1 of 2025 report, you can see at the end of December, total XRP held by Ripple was 4.48 billion coins, but this is the number that I'm looking at. Total XRP subject to on-ledger escrow, 38 billion. So they went from 38 billion at the end of December to 37.1 billion at the end of March, which means that they pulled out about 900 million XRP from the escrow and sold it, right? Now, granted, they did increase their total XRP held out of escrow. So this is like in Ripple wallets. They increased it by 100 million. So that's basically about 800 million coins that they effectively removed from escrow and sold because the coins are no longer here. So if they're no longer here, and we know that they can pull coins out of escrow to sell, what can the average intelligent individual think? Well, XRP probably sold these. So 800 million coins sold. Okay, let's do the math on this. 800 million coins. And the current price of XRP is $2.56. Now, this was over the last 3 months. So we have to kind of take the average, in the first 3 months in Q1, I should say. So in January, the price was $2.60 and $3 and $3. And then February was $2.50, $2.80. So let's just say the average was around $3. Okay. So 800 million coins times $3. Or if just to be safe, we'll say $2.80. That's $2.2 billion sold of XRP in the first 3 months of the year. So I'm trying to understand how anybody believes that that's going to be bullish for the price of the coin. Now, people are going to say, but Cryptoviser, the coin price was going up. And it's like, yeah, but then it came down because they were selling the coins. Who's buying? And a lot of people are pushing the XRP ETF. Well, if there's an XRP ETF, does that mean that they're going to be buying the coins from you? No, you want them to. You want the supply to be limited. But effectively, Ripple has almost an unlimited supply for many, many years to cover expenses and continue to sell in the market. And they've said they will do it. But is this enough to say this is not investable? Well, we have to look at the rest of the ecosystem. And when we look at the rest of the ecosystem, there's a lot of positive things happening in XRP. 5 million XRP wallets around the world, 2.8 billion transactions processed, representing over $1 trillion in value, moved between counterparties. We now have regulatory clarity. It's high performance. Transactions settle every 3 to 5 seconds. They talk about the XRP ledger, the XRP native token, and Ripple. Remember, these are 3 different things. XRP is the coin for the XRP ledger. Ripple is a company that uses XRPL, but other things as well. It says this on their website. It says Ripple is a technology company whose solutions use the XRP ledger, XRP, Ripple's stablecoin. I think it's called Ripple USD. Yeah, Ripple USD. And we're going to get to that in just 1 second. I forgot where I was here. And other digital assets. Ripple is also a holder of XRP and one of the many developers building on and contributing to the XRP ledger. And if we look at the network, I mean, fairly robust, right? Not as many nodes as you would imagine. You would think that we would see more node pop-ups here, but there is definitely, I would say, a fairly good network. Um, Ripple also, just last month, Ripple agreed to acquire prime broker Hidden Road for $1.25 billion in one of the largest deals in the digital asset space. Ripple will inject billions of dollars of capital to provide immediate scale and satisfy the demand for Hidden Road's prime brokerage, clearing, and financing platform. Now, by the way, where are they getting the money for this? Probably from the Ripple sales, right? I mean, they sold $2 billion in XRP, and they bought a $1.25 billion company, and they said they're going to inject billions of dollars of capital to keep the company going. What did they also do? What did Ripple also do? Ripple released the first stablecoin, RLUSD, to enable efficient cross-margining between digital assets and traditional markets, reinforcing the position as a premium enterprise-grade USD-backed stablecoin. And when I'm recording this video, let's refresh this. Let's see what the number is. It's a $317 million market cap. So not extremely high, not in the USDC or Tether category, but still very high up there for initial kind of fund. And it is regulated in the US and in New York, which is pretty big because they have the BIT license, as we know. We also know that Ripple tried to purchase Circle, which is the issuer and creator of USDC. They flexed with a $4 billion offer. Now, we heard about this last month that they were trying to buy Circle, and we heard figures all the way up to $10 billion. I mean, think about that. Ripple attempting to buy Circle for $10 billion, and Circle saying no, they're not going to do that. Because again, if we look at the USDC market cap, it's $60 billion. Now, it's not worth $60 billion, right? But they make money from interest on the underlying assets that they hold. That's how they make money, and that's how they're able to give interest to their customers within USDC. Ripple was probably trying to, now, again, this is all speculation. There's some people who say that Ripple was not offering it to them, or that the numbers, the pricing is not where what Ripple offered. Whether they did or didn't, I don't know. But Ripple essentially has unlimited money to buy as many companies as they want at this point. And I just showed you that. They have 37 billion coins in escrow, and they're going to have 1 billion coins released every single month. And so the higher the XRP price goes, the more incentive Ripple has, especially in a bull market like we're in, to sell onto the open market. That way they can purchase other companies, and especially buying those companies in the bear market. Because Hidden Road, this was really deal number one for Ripple, but this was to get them as a prime brokerage. This is really big for the financial ecosystem and for Ripple's integration into the financial ecosystem. The stablecoin is now the ability to hold money in a non-fluctuating asset, right? A stablecoin is supposed to be stable at $1 on the Ripple ecosystem, on the Ripple blockchain. That's why it's so big. But in my view, it would make sense for Ripple as a company, and again, this is not for XRP or for the holders, but for Ripple as a company to continue to sell as much coin as they can in this bull market, and as we are at these elevated XRP prices. And then in the bear market, have all of this cash on the sidelines, ready to buy up any other company that they want. Because there will be bankruptcies, there will be collapses, companies will lose everything. It's going to happen. This happens every cycle in every market, not just crypto, in traditional financial markets as well. Companies over leverage themselves and then they go bust, and then another company comes in to bail them out or buy them or whatever the situation is, and much more discounted rates. And so maybe Ripple is playing the long game here, and you as an XRP holder, this would be a good investment, because even though the price is already elevated with XRP, there is the potential that what Ripple is going to do in a bear market by buying these other companies could potentially skyrocket their overall kind of company portfolio. But the issue here is that Ripple doesn't need to use XRP. So if Ripple is gaining value and valuation and growth by buying prime brokerages and buying these other companies that are, bankrupt or not doing well or whatever the situation is, the issue for a holder is Ripple is not bound to me. It's not a shareholder of a company, right? Where if you're a shareholder and the CEO is making decisions, they're making those decisions thinking about the shareholder. At least that's what you would hope, right? But in crypto, they don't have to. The XRP is separate from Ripple. So Ripple selling, they're not necessarily going to use that money to benefit XRP. They're going to use it to benefit Ripple. And while many people think XRP is Ripple and Ripple is XRP, they have made it very clear through the entire SEC situation, it's not the same thing. And that is a concern, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's not investable. Again, going back to what this video is about. And so we already covered Ripple begins adding RLUSD stablecoin to cross-border payment solutions. We also have heard more recently, do you guys remember back in, I think it was February or March of 2025, the president sent out a tweet about the strategic crypto reserve and stated that XRP, Cardano, and Solana were going to be in it. Well, Trump is now feeling used after learning his XRP post was pushed by Ripple-linked lobbyists. What in the Ripple is going on here? So in early 2025, Trump shocked the crypto community after publicly endorsing XRP, Solana, and Cardano for proposed U.S. reserves. But now, Politico revealed that the post, intended to signal Trump's support for crypto strategic reserve, was orchestrated by an employee of a firm with ties to Ripple Labs, the company behind XRP. The lobbyist, who was attending a donor event, reportedly urged the president to publish a pre-written message without fully disclosing the connection to Ripple. The president, who believed he was making a broad statement in support of American crypto innovation, was furious and felt manipulated after Ripple was a client, or learning Ripple was a client of the lobbyist. In the aftermath, Trump allegedly told aides that the lobbyist, the firm's founder and a longtime fundraiser, was not welcome in anything anymore. From my understanding, the crypto czar, David Sachs, also, it says he clarified that Trump's mention of these coins was based on their top 5 status by market capitalization at the time. And so a lot of people, I don't want to say, let's just say XRP holders, the same way Cardano holders and the same way Solana holders were so excited about this tweet. And now we find out, the president doesn't know what these coins are. It's not like he's cheering on Cardano and XRP and Solana. I do think that the president believes in crypto and wants cryptos to do well. But I don't think that he fully understands how this ecosystem really work, right? And what these cryptos are. Some of them are pump and dump. Some of them don't have good tokenomics. Some of them are exit liquidity, right? There's a lot of issues in the crypto world, as there are in the stock market world. But we have to understand, is this the right investment for our portfolio? And by the way, my answer that I'm going to give you guys about XRP investability, this is for my portfolio. This may not be right for yours. You may be hearing all the stuff that we're talking about with the tokenomics and all of this and say, oh, wait, Cryptoviser thinks this is a good investment. I don't think it's a good investment. Or Cryptoviser thinks it's a bad investment. I actually think it's a good investment because of all the other things. For every negative, there's also a positive, right? So yeah, XRP is selling coin, but they're buying a lot of companies. Yeah, XRP is selling a lot of coin, but maybe we're at the top of the market and then we're going to go into a bear market and they're going to be able to buy all these companies up at a discount with all the cash that they acquired from selling in the bull market. Because a lot of other companies are doing the opposite. Right? They're acquiring Bitcoin now at the top of the market. We're literally at all-time record highs, $105,000. Some people are going to say Cryptoviser all-time record high is actually 108,256 or whatever the number is. We're literally there. We are literally there. And there's companies buying at the top. What do you think is going to happen to those companies in a bear market? Which will come at some point. either a full-on bear market or a corrective phase. It will come. What's going to happen to those companies that were buying at the top of the market with debt? So there's risk on every end and every angle. You have to look at what the risk is and say, is this risk worth it? These companies that are just buying at the top of the market, and Ripple is literally selling at the top of the market. We see that in the numbers of their escrow. So that actually may be smart because they're doing opposite what the rest of the market is doing, and the rest of the market potentially can get over leveraged and then get wrecked. Maybe XRP is doing opposite what the rest of the market is doing, and it has been for many years. That's possible also. And so maybe this is going to be the best thing and the best possible outcome for XRP and for Ripple, because maybe in the bear market they're going to buy up all these companies, integrate and make them work together with each other, and create the super app for XRP or for their stable coin, or have their stable coin running on the XRP ledger, or whatever the situation is. Just a full integration of their entire ecosystem with all these companies that they're going to buy and all these other trading companies and platforms that they're going to be acquiring. That's a possibility as well. And so I don't know. I mean, let's look at the ecosystem of XRP. If you go to XP Market, you can see all the stuff that is built within the XRP ecosystem. So you can see that they do have other stuff built within the ecosystem as well. XP Market is a leading Web3 transformation in the XRPL ecosystem. Navigate the world of XRP Ledger with ease. A lot of people don't even know that. I didn't. The XRP Ledger has tokens built on it. They have NFT meme coins built on it, right? So there's a lot that is built within the ecosystem that people probably don't even realize. And there's swap ecosystems, so you can swap the XRP with different things. They have meme pools right here with all these different meme coins. So there is definitely an ecosystem behind XRP and the XRPL. Is it as robust as other ecosystems? I would probably say no. They definitely need bridges and more DeFi built in and more interoperability to connect to the other platforms. But overall, I would say this is more than I thought XRP had. We also are hearing from investors saying $130 billion valuation is unjustified. All right, we got to back up. So many pop-ups. Anyway, so this investor says that the valuation is just way too high, and yeah, I mean, we can't. How do you even look at this website with this many ads? You can't do it. We're gonna move on. Sorry about that. It wasn't pulling up all those pop-ups when I was pulling these articles up for the video. But anyway, the long story short is whether XRP is investable. Is it a good investment at this time? Listen, I don't know the answer to this question. I really don't. I mean, for me, it's not investable at this time for all the reasons that we said. The constant sell pressure is a concern for me, and especially over the longer term. This pump that we saw in XRP tells me that we've already pumped. This could have been an XRP corrective phase where XRP was correcting to the upside because the price has been suppressed since they were sued back in 2019 during the 2020 bull run into 2021. XRP did not really perform that well. And a lot of that, I think, was due to the suppression and the concern about the SEC lawsuit. But now that the SEC lawsuit is down, the price, I think, corrected back to the upside. And I think this is the new baseline. I don't know that we're necessarily going to go lower, but I also don't know how much higher we're going to go, right? Because every time the price does go higher than this, we're going to see more selling from Ripple. This seems to be the price target that Ripple is going after, this above $2.50 range, because there is no support above 250 cents. Every time the price went above $2.50, we came right back down. And so that would tell me, without knowing the wallet flows and all of this of the XRP that's coming out of escrow, and just going based on Ripple's own report, it would lead me to believe that anytime we go above $2.50, Ripple will sell, at least in the shorter period of time ahead. And that is a concern because if they're selling and who's buying, right? As soon as the ETFs start getting involved and start buying XRP, who are they going to be buying the XRP from? They're going to be buying the XRP directly from Ripple. And so that's not really going to have a major impact on the valuation in the markets. I also would anticipate that when XRP ETF gets approved, which I mean, at this point, it's almost baked in that it's going to be approved. How much do people think that is going to be put in it? Because remember, they just sold $2 billion worth of XRP in the first 3 months of the year. And the market did not really move that much, right? I mean, we saw some movement, but most of the movement, I would imagine, was because of the volatility. This uptrend here, I don't think was because of them selling coins. This was the Trump pump. This was the market pricing in, oh shit, Ripple's going to win this SEC case. There's no way Ripple is going to lose in any way. You know, you could say they lost $50 million plus all the legal fees, but they're still now cleared basically, and there's regulatory clarity that XRP is not a security and that Ripple did not violate any, you know, of these securities laws and regulations. And that's where I think that we're seeing this price increase. But until we get more clarity from Ripple, which I don't think that they will give on, you know, what their strategy is for selling the coins. I mean, the strategy of selling coins to buy up companies is very smart. And over the long term, yes, if you're thinking about like a 5 to 10 year investment, XRP may be it. But in the short term, I don't know the rest of this cycle that we'll see too much upside. But if we do go into a bear market and they start acquiring companies, and I'm talking about a macro crypto bear market, and Ripple starts to acquire other companies that are going bankrupt or struggling or whatever, or just valuations have diminished because of the bear market, that would probably be a good time to start scaling in to XRP, because understanding that in a bear market, Ripple would be preparing for the bull market, which is very opposite what a lot of companies do in the crypto space, where in the bull market, they just expand, expand, expand. And then we go into a bear market and none of that is sustainable. And the whole value proposition behind that collapses. We saw this happening with the Bitcoin mining companies in the previous cycle. And so for now, for me, for my portfolio, XRP is not investable, but I do think that it will be, especially once we start to see a slowdown in the price of the coin and a slowdown potentially in their selling. Because when they slow down in their selling, it would tell me that they realize the market's probably dropping and it's not a good time to keep selling, because if they keep selling into a downtrending market, the downtrend is going to accelerate and will go even further down. And then they won't be able to sell. So I do think that there's going to be a balance of this selling versus what they're acquiring. But if Ripple is selling the XRP to acquire companies that are going to make the entire ecosystem better, this could potentially be the good play, similar to what MicroStrategy is doing. They're taking debt or selling their own shares on the open market, but then they're taking that money and putting it to use by buying Bitcoin, which is a hard asset for the longer term. Very different than what a lot of other companies do. When they have extra cash, what do? They just stock buybacks or they give a dividend, right? It's a one-time shot and it's not anything for the sustainability of the company. And so if they have extra money, I mean, think about it. Apple has $100 billion and they're just doing stock buybacks instead of putting $100 billion into creating actual products besides a yellow iPhone. So anyway, I do think that that's going to be a very bullish time frame for XRP and something that I'm keeping a very close eye on. And as you guys know, I'm going to keep you all up to date on this channel. So make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Give the video a free thumbs up. That way you never miss a new video. And I'll see you when I see you. Let me know what you guys think about XRP. Do you agree with my thesis that right now, at the all-time record highs, basically in Bitcoin and XRP, this is not necessarily investable, but watching what Ripple does over the next 12 to 18 months with the money that they're acquiring from selling and what they're doing with it and what they're getting. If they're building their ecosystem out in a bear market, that's going to be very bullish, very bullish. So anyway, let me know what you guys think. See you guys on the next video. Invest responsibly and crypto on.